Hi everybody, my name is Anne. Thanks for joining me again on Art on the Creek. It is Sunday review day and I have something fun for us today. The Derwent Tinted Charcoal Paint Pen Set. Let's go check it out and see how much fun we can have with this. Are you ready? Here we go. Derwent is a really respected company in the art world, and this is the product I want to talk about today, the Tinted Charcoal Pan Paint Set. I have a lot of Derwent products. I really love them. In fact, I should make a Derwent playlist. I'll put a link to that in the description. I also have these, they're XL Charcoal. These are really, really fun. I've got the XL Graphite as well. They're tinted, but you can activate them with water as well as just draw with them. These are really fun to play with and they're incredibly versatile. So if you want to take a look at these, we can. The reason that I brought them up, not just because they're Derwent, but because if you have any charcoal at all, it should be activated with water. You should be able to activate it with water and you can achieve the things that we're going to do here. The tinted charcoal is what's going to be unique about this, but here we have tinted charcoal too, so we'll see how they compare and which one works to your liking. Now, so the Derwent charcoal, they do come in a lot of different colors. Now, let me see if they have the color names listed on the back here. That's easy for me because some of these I may have worn off. No, I'm going to have to try and read what I've got here. This is a yellow ochre, Mars violet, sepia, that's surely black, and this one, sanguine, of course, sanguine. These are really just a lot of fun. And then of course this one here is white. Like I said, you can activate them with water or use them as you would a chalk pastel or a charcoal. Really fun. It really opens up some new doors for you as an artist. But let's compare the colors here with the Tinted Charcoal Pan Set. And it's a plastic tin. It's really pretty sturdy, quite nice. So see these lend more toward cool colors. The colors that they include in this one are dark moss, forest pine, driftwood, mountain blue, ocean deep, thistle, glowing embers, burnt earth, natural, dark, and white. So these are going to be just slightly different than this set here, of course. So let me put the lid back on this one, and we'll scoot those out of the way. And I will set up a swatch chart here so that we can swatch these out. Let me show you how these are packaged. It's really kind of nice. The tin is plastic and it is very sturdy though, so I feel like you could take this with you just about anywhere and not have any trouble at all. The cellophane wrap comes off. And honestly, that's the only package you'd have to throw away. This is perfectly recyclable, or you could use it to store your palette. I wanted to make a little note on the price tag if many of you saw that. I purchased this at a mom and pop art supply store in South Carolina. I love the store. I wanted to support them. And when I was out visiting my kids and their families, my beautiful grandchildren, I wasn't looking for economy. If you wanted to find these at a lower price, I would encourage you to look around. I wanted to just support that small business. So that's why I paid that price for them. Let's take a look. Here we have the water brush, which totally stumped me last time. I did a review on the Derwent Tinted Graphite Pan Set. I'll put a link to that in the description or a card up here. And I could not figure out this brush, but I have increased my brain space between now and then. And I realized that this is a cap. This is something that you keep. So let me fill up the water brush. So let's say you're all done painting, you put the cap on, and then you can put the brush away in two parts. That's the way that it fits in the little space allotted. To use it, you do want to keep this cap. And then you just simply screw this on. Now I will say, as I did say before, I'm not a fan of this particular design because, friends, I'm going to lose this. In fact, I would encourage you to place your bets in the comments below. How many days until Anne loses this little cap? It's going to happen. So I'm going to have to devise some special place to put this. For now, it's going to go right in there. The brush that they give you is a nice brush though. It's easy to get the water to dispense out and it has a nice point. I'm just going to dip it in the water here to help soften it so that we can take the sizing out of that brush. If you didn't know that, by the way, whenever you get a new brush, the bristles are very stiff, the filaments are, and you're always going to want to dip it in water before you use it in your paints. What happened to my water? I'm having issues today, folks. I don't think I actually filled this. Let me try again. Take two. Okay, now we have it. So when you want to make these water brushes work, they're so simple. All you do is you squeeze and put a little dot of water in the pan, or just use it like that, and then you have a sponge to clean your brush off between colors, and it does work very well. These little pans, whoops, come out. And this is what happened with the other set that I got too. Whenever there's a watercolor product that's made, I'm pretty sure that they extruded this from a machine. It looks machine extruded. And then when it's placed in the pan, there's a little bit of shrinkage that happens. It's okay. It's not, I think this is the forest pine here. It's nothing that's going to cause you any trouble. The only thing that you will need to do is adhere these in somehow. And the way that I do it is to put a little drop of water in the bottom and then place that in there, and that water will be enough to hold it in. What I wanted to show you though is that these do come out in case you wanted to take them out, and then you'd have the extra mixing wells here. So you've got 3, 5, 7, 8 if you wanted to use that for mixing wells, which is really great if you're painting out of your studio and you need more room to mix. So let me just set up a swatch chart here, and we'll go ahead and we'll jump right in. We'll go ahead and start swatching these, because from this little vellum sheet, which I love that they put in there, there is not a lot of differentiation. However, from the sample painting, we can do quite a bit with lights and darks. So I'm intrigued. Let me get a swatch chart going, and then we can swatch them out. So going into the dark moss, let me just start by putting a little drop of water on each of these just to activate them. I'm not sure if it needs it, but it can't hurt. And I want to show you right away how charcoal acts with water when you put water on it. Can you see how the water really just kind of absorbs into the charcoal? That's a neat effect. And it just means that charcoal, as I'm sure you can guess, is a little bit more porous. So it might mean for my climate that these are going to be drying out a lot. We'll have to see. Let's try the dark moss. As I'm swatching these out, these definitely act a lot more like charcoal than they do watercolor. They're not honey-based. I don't know if they're made with gum arabic. I'm not certain, but I can tell you that they really just feel a lot like the Derwent XL Charcoal. The Pigment Payout is different. I do want to do a comparison so that we can see the difference. I don't know. A lot of people really like these brushes. They seem like a good water brush as water brushes go, but I really don't like the design. Sorry, Derwent. Not a fan. Fan of everything else you do. All right, and now the white. I want to make sure I get this really clean. That had time to sit, and it got a little soupy, unlike the others, which is really nice. So this one acts more like a watercolor. And it's about as opaque as a Chinese white. So those are your colors. Aren't they wonderful? They're very earthy, very moody, and they do remind me a lot of the other chair squeak, sorry, of the other Derwent paint pan set that I used, the tinted graphite. I'm starting to see the salt interacting with these and working quite well. I'm just going to set this aside. I'll pan across it here slowly though, so that you can see some of these colors. I really love them. I love muted palettes. The Derwent drawing pencils are really, really cool. I think some of the colors in the drawing pencils would go with these as well. I really like this. I'm just going to do something fun today, something fun and abstract, sort of. But I want to show you really quick the Derwent drawing pencils. This palette is so muted and really, really nice, and I think a lot of these colors would really go well with this. So backing up, let's try that, just like we did with the other review. Let's try matching some of the pencils with some of these hues. I was able to find some really good one-to-one correspondences. There's only a couple that I couldn't quite match. I thought with that XL Charcoal, the Mars Violet might match the Thistle in the paint pan set, but it really doesn't. But some of these pencils in this drawing set match phenomenally well. And I think that's probably about all there is to it as far as a direct correlation. But if you're getting any of these paint pan sets, I recommend getting this too, because then you can have multimedia work that would really correspond and go well. You could do a base layer in these and then color on top of it with the drawing pencils. They just work very well together. You could do resists with these. You could paint color with these first and then do a resist over this. Okay, let's try, since these are so moody, you can see the salt starting to work a little bit. It's not real drastic. Kind of about the same effect that it had on the graphite. I remember it just wasn't really that much oomph with the salt, but that is okay. We have had some incredibly stormy skies lately here in Colorado. We've had a lot of hail, and it looks like it's getting ready to cloud up and do that again. It is late June 2023 as I'm filming this, and I think we could paint a beautiful stormy sky. I can tell you right now, my experience swatching these was more enjoyable than painting. Ouch, I know it's not what you want to hear, but they just went down kind of weird. It might have been the brush I was using. I did switch back to that water brush because you could get a much bigger pigment payout. You know what I think? I think I like this better upside down. Now we have suddenly a sea and some mountains. Let's go with it this way, folks. Keeping in mind the subtlety of this color palette, I just wanted to go in here and work on this seascape with the turbulent seas. What I really wanted to do was to add some sea spray on that right corner there, which as you can see, I'm trying to splash things down and really get the turbulent sky in the upper left so that those two would kind of serve as a juxtaposition to one another. I can say I encountered some difficulties and I couldn't get exactly what I wanted to, so I had to bring in the XLs. I'm going to cheat just a little and move to this, because in theory it should be the same product. I am not satisfied with this. It's just too similar. There's no contrast. So I'm going to go in with some of that XL charcoal and really punch this up and get it to look like it has some differentiation in value. Let me swatch out these XLs so you can see the comparison and decide for yourself. All right, I've got charcoal on my fingers, so it's a little smudgy, but let's go ahead and compare the charcoal, the Derwent Charcoal XL, because honestly, I think the pigment payout is better here. You do get some unique colors up here, but the pigment payout is going to be better on these charcoal XLs. So we'll start with the white. I think you can see with the pigment payout here that these two supplies would be used just a little bit differently. And finally the black. And that one we can get to be just as opaque as we want it. So here's what we can conclude. If you're looking for subtlety, these are your best bet. Let me brush the salt off of these. I think they're dry enough now. The salt effects on here are extremely subtle. You can kind of see it here on the burnt embers, a little bit on the dark moss. And again, I just use table salt, so a different salt might have a different effect. But for what you would use these for, I think it would be more to assist a drawing that you're doing in charcoal, to kind of just make it a blendable charcoal. If that makes sense, that's the way that I can wrap my brain around it at least. Everything here is of the same value. So just like the Schmincke Horadam super granulating sets, these are best used with other media, I feel, to augment something. Here's the painting I did with them, and I did go in with some of the thicker charcoals and augment it a little bit, but it's an angry sea coming up on a cliff and with a stormy sky, and I had trouble spreading it. I had to go through several different brushes to discover which one I like the best, and as it turns out, I do like this brush the best, the one that comes with it. I have no trouble using this brush on my larger set though, and it was a bit of a struggle. I felt like every time I set the brush down, it absorbed the paint back up into the brush. So judging the amount of water I needed was a little more of a learning curve. For me, that could be the way I paint. But I'm quite used to using these, and I love them, and I don't have that issue with these. So I think there must be a different formulation between the two. The color range here, you're getting all the cools. The blacks do appear to be very neutral, so that's a good sign, but there's a lot of blue in a lot of these. This is a very cool blue. The dark moss tends to be a little bit warmer. I still love how they coordinate with the drawing pencils. That is one thing that Derwent has really succeeded at, is these drawing pencils. I think they're underrated. And I think that to use the two of these together in a piece would be amazing, and I think that would really work quite well. But again, here is the piece that we created with this, but for the white, I had to go in and use the Big Papa here so that I could make some flecks of seafoam coming up here. And I like the way it stayed. The other good plus about these is you don't have this, oh, well, no. In the pan set, you don't have the smudge factor that you might with a regular charcoal. Now on these, I want to say that yes, it might smudge. Let me find a clean finger. I'm pretty arty today. Yeah, you can see that's gonna smudge for sure. So these are genuine charcoal. These are really something that doesn't have whatever added elements to it that these have to make them a pan, more of a watercolor set. I am convinced, though, that these are best used, the pan set here, are best used in tandem with another art supply. I think that if you're going to go for something really subtle, you could use them all together, but you will need to go in with something else to punch up your values. I think that this could really, I don't think this is finished yet. I think it needs a little more work, and I think what I would choose to do next would be to go back in with the Derwent drawing pencils and to augment it with some of these. So that is something to think about. If you are getting this pan set, I would seriously consider getting the drawing pencils to go with it, just something that you can use to augment these colors, because the pigments that are in the pencils just go so well with these. Now that's not to say you can't use other color pencils, but it's just an easy match, and I think that that's something that Derwent does exceptionally well. So as far as the charcoals go, though, if you're going to use a charcoal as a water-soluble media, I would stick with this. But as you can see, it's not the same color range. So there's your trade-off. You can have a huge pigment payout with a very traditional kind of an academic approach to charcoal, or you can branch out a little bit and have some of these and try and experiment and have some fun with them. I had fun painting this. I don't regret buying it. I think that it's a good set, and I think that when used appropriately, you could have a ton of fun with it. So you guys, I think that is it. Let me just show you one little quick thing here. The salt is starting to work on this charcoal here. It's not going to give you those great starburst effects that it does with traditional watercolor, but really some cool things can happen when you add salt to any wet water-based media. All right, kids. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope that you enjoyed this review of the Derwent Paint Pan Tinted Charcoal set, and I hope that it helps you make a decision as to whether or not you want to invest your money in these. I've kind of given you a lot to think about today, and I hope you're not walking away from this video more confused than you were when you started. But at any rate, the Tinted Charcoal Paint Pan set, I feel like it's a lot of fun to play with, but compared to that Charcoal XL set or the XL Charcoals, I like the pigment payout for the charcoal so much better, but then you have this great palette, and I cannot get over how beautiful these colors are. They do go well together. You can create a really moody painting with them, but I feel like they need something more, and that's where the Derwent drawing pencils come in. These are a diamond in the rough, and I think they go with so many Derwent products. I think that they're worth getting in tandem with any of these. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye now.